Hello, everybody. Mon here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new here. Thank you, subscribers, for supporting me. We're a small channel hidden in the outback of Australia and the internet, the YouTube. Okay. I'm a real person. I don't think AI could copy me because I'm such an animated presenter. So I think from me, you could only go to a cartoon. Turn the volume down and watch me. It's funny, very funny. I had no idea I was that animated. When I was younger, people used to say, "Oh, your eyes are big." And I didn't even realize that I opened my eyes so big until I started making videos. Anyway, enough of me. This channel is called Intuitive Soul Savant, and you guys are all soul savants out there. Whoever is seeking and healing and clearing and actually just undergoing life day to day in the here and now. 2026, it's sped so fast. I can't believe how quick this year has gone. We were warned that that would be a case with Uranus ingressing into Gemini. Okay, we're very sped up, and we've got Neptune, who is slow as anything, in Aries, which is a fast energy. Aquarius is on the go too, and we have Pluto there. So there's that fast energy that's going to be with us for some time now, and it's all about expansion and it's all about change. This week is huge. Okay, it is huge this week. We're coming into July. Astrologers all around the world are discussing July. What we really need to know about July is that this is new. I'm not just banging on. I'm not like those other astrologers online that are catastrophizing everything or wow, this is big time, this blah, 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 blah. You know, that's just clickbait. But this month and where the planets are, the outer planets, the generational planets, the slow moving planets, where they are, we cannot go back enough to ever see this configuration again. And it's all around the 4 degrees of Aquarius, Aries, Gemini and Leo. Okay, around that 4 degrees. And what's happening in the sky, they are trines, they are sextiles. However, our chart is all mixed up in this energy as well. So a fair few of us will be undergoing the squares and the oppositions, okay, which are more challenging than the sextile and the trine. And a lot of astrologers agree that really, you know, the sextiles and the trines are easy. They're easy energies to the point that you could miss them. If you don't use this energy personally and jump on the energy, ride the energy like a surfer rides a wave, then basically you could just miss out. If you're not looking into your chart and seeing how these planets and degrees affect your chart, you're going to miss that wave because they're sextiles and trines. Now, with a square opposition, you know, something has to give. Action needs to take place, and we are forced to take that action. Whereas with the sextiles and the trines, it's a choice, okay? It's a choice, unless there's challenging aspects moving you into agreement with the sextiles and the trines. I know that sounds very heady, doesn't it? But this whole week is heady. When I look at the transits this week, I want to take it slowly so I don't confuse you. We're not going to dive deep into each transit, otherwise I will confuse you, all right? So the energies that we have going this week, right? Saturday is the 27th of June here in Australia. You guys are asleep while I'm making this video. So there's no transits today here in Australia. Now, what we've got yesterday, Friday, the 26th, okay, we've had the energy of Mars sextiling Jupiter. All right. Now, that has been in play that'll be in play from Friday through to this week. Mars actually sextiles Jupiter on Sunday, exact, here in the afternoon. That may be late Saturday evening for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere. So we've got that lovely sextile, okay? Mars has entered, is in the last degree of Taurus, okay? And Jupiter is in the last degree of Cancer, and that is 29 degrees and 34 minutes. And these last degrees are very powerful when not so much the personal planets, but the slower moving planets like Jupiter. It takes Jupiter 12 years to move around the horoscope, okay? And so Mars in Taurus, not too happy there because Mars likes to move fast. So with Jupiter in Cancer and the sextile, that is very comfortable. That's a comfortable energy. They're both big planets, Mars and Jupiter. They're both at the end of an earth sign and a water sign, and they will be moving on. Mars takes 2 years to get around the horoscope. Jupiter will not be back in Cancer for another 12 years, right? So that takes place this weekend's energy, exact, okay? The other energy that is hanging around is the Sun squaring Neptune. That was on Friday. We've just passed that energy. The energy is still there today, but the exact degrees of transit has finished, and that'll finish up today on Saturday. So just the last of the Sun square Neptune energy, and that's, you know, the Sun coming from God, what month are we in? It's already heady. I got to work it out. But in Cancer, the Sun in Cancer, sextiling Neptune in Aries. Okay, so that's just those last degrees as well, and that's been active since Thursday last week, and that energy will finish today as well. So on the 2nd of July, which is this coming Thursday, Jupiter in Leo will square Chiron in Taurus. Okay, so that energy is around now. Okay, it's not exact, but we feel the energy of Jupiter square Chiron coming in today. When you wake up, you watch this video, that energy of Jupiter square Chiron is in, and Jupiter will be in Leo by Thursday. Not today, by Thursday, right? So Jupiter will be in early degrees of Leo. Chiron will be in early degrees of Taurus. Remember last week, Chiron went into Taurus, and that's a whole new set of energies for us. It's going to spend a little bit of time in there, and then we'll leave towards the end of the year, go back into Aries and finish up that last bit of time for Chiron in Aries healing, okay? So that energy's around today, the Jupiter square Chiron. We've also got Uranus square the nodes energy. Now, I talked about that last week and the week before that. That energy's been around since the 11th of June, okay? Now, we're coming to the end of June, and on the 30th, you know, that will be exact Uranus squaring the nodes, okay? So that we've had that for a long time, and that's been pivoting us into releasing energies and taking on energies that we'd already sorted out that we were going to let go of that. It's not serving us, and we need to move towards that. And that's that Pisces, Virgo axis, the ethereal, the spiritual, the change, the dreaminess, you know, opposing that practical South Node in Virgo, that perfectionism, that workaholism, that lack of connection to the spiritual when it's in shadow. Okay, when a Virgo isn't awakened, it's all about work, it's all about habits, it's all about daily structures, it's head down, ass up, right? But we need to balance that energy with the awareness of the spiritual, the Neptunian energy, what we actually can't physically see, all right? So those energies need to be balanced, okay? And so that's Uranus, which is all about change, okay? So different things could have happened to different people since the 11th of June that have pivoted them getting ready for these July energies and the next 5 to 6 years of astrology, all right? So we've got Neptune sextiling Pluto. That was exact last week. So that energy is still here right through until the 30th of October, right? Neptune slow moving, Pluto slow moving. They're creating a sextile, an easy energy, and that energy is with us right through till the 30th October, okay? 11th of June to the 30th of October this year, 2026. We will have that Neptune sextile Pluto. Now, remember I said to you that's going to happen another 13 times, the exact of that, right through till 3032. Okay, so July, it's change. You'd be sleeping under a rock if you had no idea of what's going on out in the world. What's going on is the human biological being. Okay, these times are big changing times. And you're here for a reason to experience it, undergo it, and learn and grow as a physical being and as a spiritual being and as a collective being, part of the one. All right, so that's that Uranus sextile Neptune, Neptune sextile Pluto. Okay, these are slow-moving energies that are gearing the collective for change, and you're part of the collective, so take up your seat. You are most welcome. So the other energy we've got this week also is Mars squaring the nodes, and Mars, early degrees of Gemini, squaring the very last degree. And when I say last degree of the Pisces Virgo axis, I really mean 0 degrees, because the nodes work like in a retrograde action. Okay, they move clockwise around the chart. Okay, so they start at 30 degrees when they first move into the next axis, and then they will finish at 0 degrees of that axis, ready to start the next axis at 30 degrees, right? So that's the nodes of the moon, which are points. They're not actually physical planets or asteroids or anything like that, okay? It's all about the ecliptic of the moon, and they are very energetic, those nodes of the moon. If you've been studying astrology for a long while, and you're able to transcribe the theory into energy and understand the energy, you'll know those nodal points are very powerful, both in our charts as well as the collective. They're a guide for the collective as we move around the astrological chart, all right? So we've got Mars squaring the nodes. Now, that's happening on the 30th of July, they will be exact. And because Mars, moves quickly, it's only a few days that energy will be around us. That energy will be around from Monday until the 1st of July this week. We've also got the nodes sextiling Chiron. Now, that isn't exact until the 11th of July, but it is in play. As of tomorrow, Sunday, the 28th of June, we will have the nodes sextiling Chiron, all right? Right through to the 29th of July. So all of July, we're going to have those nodes sextiling Chiron, which we could use to ride that wave, as I said. You know, the nodes are right in that last degree, first degree of Pisces and Virgo, and Chiron is in early degrees of Taurus, okay? So they're not by sign so much, but by degrees, all right? And I rarely talk about the nodes sextiling anything, but I think it's very, very important this week and through July. Everything is working together, right? There's method behind the madness. And, you know, when I was an early student of astrology, I used to think it all worked like a clock. That was the way that I could get my consciousness around astrology 40 odd years ago, before the internet and before the expansion of knowledge that's taken place with astrology, okay, because it being online and so much to learn, all right? You don't have to go and buy a book anymore or buy a magazine to study astrology. You can study it online free, because we, as commentators, astrological commentators, we're giving away so much of our experience free. But as I always say, you need to be listening to astrologers that can transcribe the theory into energy. Otherwise, it's just words, okay? We really need to understand the energy. That's what it's all about. So also this week, we have the energy of Mars conjunct Uranus. Now, there'll be all, you know, this is happening all over the internet, Mars conjunct Uranus. And, you know, it has a bad reputation, Mars conjunct Uranus. I must say that my only son was born with Mars conjunct Uranus at 6 degrees Aquarius, right on his midheaven. Mars conjunct Uranus, exact on the midheaven in Aquarius. So, you know, what we could say about that boy is very interesting, and who knows what will happen as Pluto goes over those degrees. 6 degrees is where he has that Mars conjunct Uranus. And as a mother, lots of freaky stuff used to happen, you know, and I don't mean Neptune freaky, like spiritual freaky, just accidents can happen just so quickly. We're dealing with Uranus, we're dealing with Mars, okay, and it's early Gemini, you know, so this is it's a cerebral energy. We really need to ground ourselves when this Mars conjunct Uranus, all right, in Gemini, because Uranus in Gemini, it very much affects the central nervous system, heart palpitations, panic attacks, fear rising up out of nowhere, and you didn't even know that you had that. We need to be careful around knives and cutting, okay? So that's on the 4th of July. Now, this 4th of July for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere. We all know that that's your Freedom Day. And we know it was the start of the country, and you're all very patriotic about it, and you have lots of fireworks on the 4th of July. We've seen enough movies down under here to understand somewhat your 4th of July. You know, in Australia, the dates might be a little bit different, like the 5th of July, but on that 4th of July, which is a Saturday, okay, next Saturday, 4th of July, at 4:08 p.m., that's when Mars conjuncts Uranus. And also, around that 24-hour period, you've got that Mars sextiling Neptune and Mars trining Pluto. All right. So that 4th of July is a big day, and, you know, because it's Mars conjunct Uranus, yes, there's talk of war, you know, because Mars, you know, can fire off and get a bit male, arrogant, you know, as a shadow side of Mars. And Uranus, anything can happen. Surprise, as I always say. So we don't know what's going to happen, you know, and I cannot give you an exact account of how these planets are going to play out through July, because nobody's experienced it before. You know, I'd be just being a dick if I said, you know, this is what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen, because really we don't know. We are learning. Astrologers are continually learning day in, day out, and year in, year out, decade in, decade out, century in, century out, because everything is always evolving, right? I would say, you know, after the Pluto transited Capricorn, Capricorns have changed as an energy. It's not full on where you're unrecognizable energy, but every time Pluto ingresses into a sign and moves through a sign, that energy is empowered even more. And how do we know that? We'll look back centuries ago and see how the people were living and where their consciousness was at. So our consciousness is always expanding with every generation that is born, every Pluto generation that's born. Those kids hold that energy and are that energy. We only experience that energy, but they are actually that energy. Okay, so I'm going to make a video about that. I'm very interested in that topic, how each generation of the Pluto, we've got to learn from them. We've got to take it into account, okay? So to finish it all off, after the Mars conjunct Uranus, we also have Venus trine Lilith. And I don't normally add Lilith, but because she's the divine feminine energy and Venus is trining her from Leo, Lilith is in Sag. That's a nice little feminine energy there, both from Venus, feminine energy, and the female, okay, both divine energies, divine feminine energies, okay. So that's exact this Thursday, that Venus trine Lilith, all right. So I'm seeing that energy, the Venus trine Lilith, just as like the cream on the cake, you know, just a little softening there. The ripples on the ocean. I just think it's interesting that it comes up this week, that Venus trine Lilith, because Venus isn't really making any other aspects, you know, only to any Taurus planets or Scorpio planets, you know, with Venus in Leo. So I've just added that in. That energy will be around from Wednesday through to Thursday and Friday next week. All right, so that's sort of the end. There's a lot, isn't there? Oh, and we have a full moon this week too. Oh, there you go. I nearly forgot it. I'd done all these planets and everything, and then I nearly forgot it. We have a full moon as well in Capricorn on top of all of that, and that's on Tuesday here in Australia at early in the morning. So it'll be Monday for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere, that full moon. All right, so let's oh, there's more, okay. We got Mars entering into Gemini, Mercury stations retrograde this week, and Jupiter enters Leo. Right, so did you get all that? So I'm going to give you the energies again of what's in play, okay. Mars sextiles Jupiter, the Sun squares Neptune, Jupiter squares Chiron, Uranus squaring the nodes, Uranus sextiling Neptune, Neptune sextiling Pluto, Mars squaring the nodes sextiling Chiron, Mars conjunct Uranus, Venus trine Lilith, Mars ingressing into Gemini, Mercury stationing retrograde, Jupiter ingressing into Leo, and a big fat full moon in Capricorn. No, it is a week of it, isn't it? So let's take it day by day, shall we? So today, Saturday here in Australia, nothing, all right? Tomorrow at 2:50 p.m, so that would be early morning, Sunday morning, or late evening, Saturday evening for the Northern Hemisphere. We've got that Mars in Taurus sextiling Jupiter in Cancer at the very, very last degree. It's almost like an activation, right? This Jupiter in Cancer has been a very, very interesting time for Jupiter in Cancer, okay? I find Cancer very inward energy. It's the family. It's that home security, all right? And Mars in Taurus needs that security. Mars in Taurus strives, takes action for security, and it's financial, it's practical security when it's in Taurus, okay? And Cancer, it's personal energy, the Mars sextiling Jupiter. So that's a nice little farewell to Jupiter and an entry for Mars into Taurus. And Mars will then conjunct the Uranus at the end of the week. All right, so nice little energy tomorrow to finish up our weekend. On Monday, Mars ingresses into Gemini. So Mars will say goodbye to Taurus. How did I go there, Taurus, in taking action to have you feeling more secure or more financially aware? Because we've got Chiron in Taurus, remember? Chiron, the wounded healer. He will be personally looking at our wounds, whether we have them or not, regarding our personal security, our practical physical energy, our bodies, our health, our physical health, okay? And our financial health. Taurian, it loves the money. That's its go-to for security. And then if it goes too far and falls into its shadow, it becomes greed and hoarding, having too much stuff to have itself feel secure. All right. And we've all got Taurus somewhere in our chart. We've all got Cancer in our chart as well. So that's Monday. I just said Mars entering into Gemini. It's very early in the morning, so it'll be late Sunday evening for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere. And then on Tuesday, the 30th, which is talked about all over the internet at the moment, the 30th, we've got Mercury stationing retrograde in Cancer. Now, this is the interesting thing, right? Jupiter's moving forward, a lot's moving forward, but Mercury is saying, I'm hanging back. I'm going to do a little retrograde, go back over my self, my Cancer self, my nurturing self, my family. Anything I've got to fix up, it's got to be looked at then with that Mercury retrograde in Cancer. See you later, Jupiter, but Mercury is now retrograding Cancer. Go back, have a little shuffle around, see what needs to be done. Mercury's saying, I'm not moving too far forward. I'm just going to wait till Jupiter has a little bit of time there in Leo, and I'll do my little retrograde energy, go back over what's come to my awareness on with my security, my home security, my family, my self-nurture, all of those things, okay? So that will be happening on Tuesday, that Mercury station retrograde, and that's the day of the full moon here in Australia. And the full moon is at 9:57 a.m. here in Australia. So that full moon will be Monday evening for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere. It is Mercury actually stations retrograde at 26 degrees 15 minutes of Cancer. It retrogrades all the way back and stations to go forward at 16 degrees 19 minutes of Cancer. Okay, so dear, just take a breath. So the full moon, so Mercury stations retrograde, right, in Cancer. Now, opposing that Mercury stationing retrograde, we have the moon, which is full in Capricorn. All right, now this is iffy. This full moon in Capricorn, you know, I'm a Capricorn, all right, so I can speak from experience. Capricorn does not like the moon in anywhere near itself. I also have Saturn square my moon, right? So I'm telling you, it doesn't like to get down and emotional. It's a practical earth energy. Yes, inside, deep inside, Saturn is very emotional, but it has its rings. Saturn has the rings of ice around it. So it's only the few that get to see the melting of the ice within the Capricorn, because the Capricorn has these boundaries up to protect the watery inside of itself. In ancient astrology, Capricorn was either, it could be crocodile or it could be a half fish, right? A half fish and a half goat. So the bottom part was watery and the top part was the earthy goat. Okay, so every year in July, I really don't like it because it's Cancer's month. It's my 12th house. So all my hidden emotions come up to the surface because it's the 12th house. My 12th house wasn't even activated until Pluto ingressed into Capricorn, and wow, I cried a whole lifetime when Pluto was in Capricorn, because it activated my 12th house of Cancer. Okay, so Capricorn is very good at disassociating from emotions. They're the big daddy. They feel that, I can't look weak. I can't. And I know it's terrible that we think of emotional energy as a weak energy, but in this paradigm of life and where we've come from, yes, emotions were disregarded. Get over it. Shut it down. Stop crying, all that sort of it. Well, it didn't help anybody. That attitude has not helped anybody, because everybody has this energy within them that is grief, and that they've kept pushing down, and you can't beat Pluto. When Pluto comes along, you cannot push that energy down. Pluto goes way, way deep under that energy. All right, so the full moon is uncomfortable. Mercury stationing retrograde is uncomfortable. Mars squaring the nodes is uncomfortable because it happens early in the morning here on the 30th. So that'll be the 29th, like Monday evening for you guys. But you got a full moon happening then Monday evening, and you're going to have Mars square the nodes Monday evening. And then next minute, Jupiter ingresses into Leo, right? And that happens 3:52 p.m. here, Tuesday, the 30th. So, that guys will be asleep when Jupiter ingresses into Leo in the Northern Hemisphere. How huge is this stuff? Like, this is really big astrology, all right? It's not go and hide yourself astrology. It's open your eyes. Lean into the energy of this astrology. Lean into the energy, because wow, it's big time. It's new energy, all that's happening in July. A lot of astrologers are saying, let's just get through July and the next part of the year is easy. No, we can't say that. We just cannot say that. Okay, I'm a Leo rising. Jupiter is ingressing into Leo. And so what would basic astrologers say? Oh, wow, you're going to have great luck with Jupiter transiting your first house. Well, hang on a minute. Jupiter is going to oppose Venus in Aquarius. It's going to be opposing Pluto transiting Aquarius. I have a debilitated Jupiter. It was retrograde when I was born, and it was in Gemini. Debilitated. That's a weak Jupiter that I was born with. So we can't just say that Jupiter is fabulous. We really need to look at our charts. And then Jupiter's going to be opposing my natal Mars in Aquarius in the 7th house, Mars and Venus in Aquarius. This is me, just as an example. So, you've really got to look at how healthy your Jupiter is and what planets have you got in Aquarius or Scorpio or Taurus, because that Jupiter is going to be squaring anything you've got in Scorpio and Taurus. It's going to be opposing anything you've got in Aquarius. Right, so yes, Jupiter loves to be in Leo and expand Leo's already expansive energy, the sun, right? But let's get real. Let's get real. Let's talk about it, okay? So that's Tuesday. We've only got to Tuesday, okay? Late Monday evening for you guys, all right? You'll have Mercury station retrograde, full moon in Capricorn, Mars squaring the nodes, Mars in Gemini, right? Early Gemini, and the nodes finishing up in Pisces and Virgo, and then Jupiter ingressing into Leo, okay? Now on the Wednesday here in Australia, the energy of the Venus trine comes in, Venus trine Lilith, like I said, okay? So after all that energy, we're being asked to remember the divine feminine. We have been living in a patriarchal society and we are moving into the feminine, okay? The balance of those two, not either or. The balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Okay, so Venus trine Lilith is very much divine feminine energy. Now on Thursday, the 2nd, we have Jupiter square Chiron, right? So after Jupiter's gone into Leo, immediately it's going to square Chiron in Taurus. And then it's going to oppose Pluto in a week or so, through July. So this is another big energy, Jupiter opposed Leo. And that's why astrologers are all blah, blah, blah about July. So that is happening very early degrees, 0 degrees, 24 minutes. And it's happening around midday here on Thursday the 2nd. So that'll be Wednesday, late Wednesday evening for you guys, that Jupiter will square Chiron. And we're just learning about our wound. We're just, haven't even got a crack open of Chiron in Taurus, right? But with that Jupiter in Leo, it's Jupiter in Leo. It's such a gambling planet. It's just so expansive and so positive that we can't get carried away with the Jupiter in Leo energy, because we'll think that we can, jump off a building and fly. With the positivity, we think we really, convince ourselves that we can do something like that. So we've got to, keep it balanced, always keeping these energies balanced. And on that Thursday this week, that's when the exact Venus in Leo trines Lilith in Sagittarius, all right? Big energies, big energies this week. Just be aware of that emotional energy of full moon in Cancer, after, and what can I say? It's a big bloody week. Big week astrologically. Oh, I do want to say something. Compassion. One of my healing clients is a psychiatrist from the hospital here in Coffs Harbour, New South Wales. And she came for her appointment the other night, and I did speak to her. I said, because she's in the psych ward up at the hospital here, and I said, how are you finding your clients? I said, are they talking about how tough it is to be a human being in this day and age? And I'm telling you, we need compassion, firstly for ourselves and then others, because as I've said before, you and I have astrological knowledge. We can actually say to somebody, well, this is happening because the energies of the planets are creating this sacred geometry pattern, which is changing all of us. Have a look at the news, right? We can actually physically see that as astrologers. But the others, the younger souls, it just looks like chaos to them. It looks like a terrible place to be a human being on planet. You know, in all areas, spiritually, financially, the way that we're polarized as a collective, working against each other and not with each other, right? So compassion. And as she said, no, we're not talking about it. So I'm happy to talk about it. I'm a big, tough Capricorn. But whoa, you know, this energy in Cancer's had me in a terrible state so far since the 20th, you know, since the sun went into Cancer, right? It's facing off my natal sun, and it's uncomfortable, and I've had days of crying and isolating, and you know, and I feel that. I'm feeling it as a human being, just a simple human being. So if I'm feeling it and I have astrology to understand it, and I've gone through my dark night of the soul, so there's not patterns going on too wildly for me, you know, then others must be. So we have compassion for each other, but firstly for ourselves. That this is the toughest time to be a human being. Toughest time ever to be a human being. And you think, how could it be? We've got a roof over our head, we've got food, blah, 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 blah. But it's so what's it the word? Like life is so I can't think of the right word. It is so confusing. I'll just say confusing, you know, and uncertain and insecure. You know, these are key words. Blind faith, this sort of energy, you know, it is a tough time to be a human being. All right. So I love you all. Thank you for hanging around for the busy week long video. Yeah, you know, thank you. Just thank you for being you, and thank you for listening to me. You know, I love doing this, and I need to do more of it, and I'm planning to do more of it. So thank you for your support, because I do need that. I'm just a human having a spiritual experience. No, spiritual being having a human experience. All right, my loves. Happy full moon in Capricorn. All right. Love you. Bye.